everyone. I'm Jeff Roberts from Fortune Magazine. Pleased to welcome John from Ava Labs / Avalanche.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. Good to be here.
Let's jump right into it. I was thinking of what to say, and it feels a bit like, what do you say to those who say it's 2016 again? We're kind of back in like blockchain, not Bitcoin.
I think the industry is kind of in a pivotal moment. I like to call it our puberty phase, where we're growing through and moving past the first generation of blockchain business plans that were building technology for technology's sake, trying to show that we're real, that we have applications, we have use cases. And I think there was a lot of speculation, and now we are moving towards real world adoption, real world use cases. So that is effectively blockchain, not crypto, right? So blockchain should be the rails that allow for free flow of value, for businesses to utilize this technology to improve their monetization strategies or save money through cost optimizations and automation. It's an exciting time. I mean, despite whatever is happening in the markets, I don't think we've ever been busier and are seeing more adoption at a wide level.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, crypto is over. People are saying, and they're right, that phase of crypto is not coming back, but the new thing's going to be bigger.
Now.
And I think less dramatic, probably a good thing. But I guess what lessons did we learn from the first time? Because I remember covering like Hyperledger and R3 and stuff like that, and it just never amounted to anything. I think it's established enough. It is going to happen now, but what are the kind of takeaways from that era?
I would say that I think on the enterprise blockchain level, they were a little bit too early. So, I think what I've seen and what I deal with on a daily basis is financial institutions and global enterprises that are not coming to us and saying, we are interested in this technology, how do we use it? They're coming with plans, with rollouts, with deadlines and dates that they want to roll out their businesses using blockchain rails. Credit to the administration with the passing of Genius, whether clarity passes or not, there is more clarity in what can and cannot be done. I think the enterprise chains were first and foremost too early and trying to solve a problem that really didn't exist. That's where crypto kind of filled the void with the speculative side of the business. But I think now we're seeing that come to fruition, but in a more customizable fashion. Back then it was, build on a general purpose blockchain or on an enterprise chain. It's fit your business, fit your use case onto our technical solution. What we are seeing now and what we should be pivoting to is that the technology should enable the business. The technology should be flexible, it should be customizable, it should help the business thrive.
Yeah, and I'd argue the difference now too is that you have this new kind of cadre of managers who are blockchain native. I think it was just this like foreign technology, and a lot of the people make the decisions were in their 60s, and now I think there probably is a lot of people who speak blockchain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the technology is front and center. And that's what I think matters foremost to us and to the work that we're doing, but to the industry in general, right? Like, I've often said that I think this industry has had an elitism problem. We like to talk about the technology first and use our jargon and do all these things, but we live on an island. We're not integrating into the workflows of enterprises and businesses and payments and all the use cases that we could be making better. And now there is a new generation of leaders that understand the technology or that are curious and are willing to use it to better their business.
Yeah, and let's talk about Avalanche for a little bit too. I've always kind of thought of it as like the more academic blockchain, or what's kind of your lane briefly? How is Avalanche? I mean, I know about the sort of three substrates and stuff, the technical part, but as a branding, Solana's the fast one, Ethereum is the kind of like workhorse, Bitcoin's Bitcoin. What lane does Avalanche have?
Look, so to set the table, I think if you look at the early days, right, Ethereum was this great idea that didn't know what problem it was going to solve. So effectively, it's built itself as an inverted pyramid with layer 2s and 3s and 4. Where we are today, whether it be Solana, Sui, Aptos, is the single pipe. That pipe gets infinitely larger, shove everything through. Avalanche is a multi-lane highway. So we have our own public permissionless chain. It's an Ethereum virtual machine chain. It's very familiar to developers and institutions, but you can also build your customizable chain, whether it be permissioned or public or private or whatever it is. The business can build a blockchain of its choosing that supports its business. So on top, alongside our chain, you can add many chains. So we have about 87 chains live right now, spanning Toyota, FIS, and Intane. FIFA used it for the World Cup for tickets, across sports, entertainment, financial institutions, and enterprise and payments. These businesses need their own environment. So if you build your own chain alongside this network, you have the accessibility to interact with other chains and connect in the ways that the early internet did as well with websites.
So the pitch is you've got kind of the best of both worlds, that you got a mainstream blockchain, but you can also kind of like tinker on your own sort of like private chain.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a business comes to us and says, we have X, Y, and Z deliverable that we need to deploy. Can you do this? And the answer is simply yes. Right? We worked with Sama in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to do Islamic repo, and they had a requirement that every validator needed to be in the kingdom. We can do that. Right? It needed to be private permission. FIFA wanted their major stakeholders in the World Cup to run validators to ensure that the secondary sales of their tickets for the World Cup were being done according to like the guidelines that they have. So partners come to us with a business request. The blockchain fulfills that business request. It's not there to be like, well, yeah, what's in it for me? How do you put the blockchain first and foremost? The blockchain should be the technical rail that enables the business use case or the asset.
Yeah, and I should know this, but for what is the kind of the business model? What is sustaining the chain and Ava Labs? Is the money coming in through consulting contracts, or is it like gas fees, or both?
Yeah, so on the Ava Labs side, so I'm Chief Business Officer at Ava Labs. We are the service provider to the Avalanche Foundation, which oversees the growth of the network. For Ava Labs, we have a bunch of products that we do. We do consulting, we do advisory. We have Ava Cloud, which is a blockchain as a managed service company. So it's just like you would go to AWS or Azure and spin up a cloud instance. You come up to us and you can spin up a blockchain in a matter of minutes, hours, or days. There's a website, avacloud.io. You could spin up a generic blockchain in 5 minutes for a couple $100 a month. If you're an enterprise or institution, we have solutions architects that work hand in glove with you to build the exact blockchain to suit your needs. And on the Avalanche network side, we're looking at how layer one blockchains capture and accrue value back to the token. So there's gas fees burned on the network. There are fees burned for every Avalanche layer one blockchain. Every validator burns fees, and then transactions between those chains burn fees as well. But we're looking at it from a new perspective. I don't think any layer one has really kind of figured out the way to be a true monetization engine. The last administration didn't allow that to be kind of a thing that was discussed. But we're looking at the blockchain ecosystem as a whole, and the Avalanche Foundation is doing a lot of economic work on this and research. Think of a blockchain as a city, right? So we're looking at gross chain product and gross chain income, and how is economic activity created, captured, and effectively brought back to the token. So these are things that are in the works, and we're looking to optimize it along the way as we go.
Yeah, and again, a higher level question, but you mentioned the Avalanche Foundation. I think in this kind of new era of crypto we're going into, there's also a chance to reflect on past mistakes. And I think in retrospect, the foundation model, I don't know if I want to call it a mistake, but it hasn't worked particularly well, because what it is giving people you don't really know a whole lot of money and with little accountability. And so I think, there's always either like weird drama or infighting, or just nothing happens. Do you think that model, has Avalanche managed to kind of escape that, or what's, how for lack of a word, how do you ensure shit gets done?
Well, let me take a step back and say whether the foundation model is good or bad, it was the best solution that existed in a time when this industry couldn't have survived or operated without it, right? That's the cost of lack of regulation. That's the cost of not allowing innovation to thrive domestically and driving it offshore, right? So if you couldn't have a vertically integrated company in treasury operating in the United States, the next best option was to create these foundations. So this industry has survived a lot of hits from regulators globally and domestically for the longest time, and through that has survived. And the foundation model at the time was, I think, the opportunity that allowed them to operate in a way. I think we're seeing innovation happening there with more clarity here. Whether clarity passes or not, we'll see where things stand. I think it's time to revisit the entire thing, right? Whether it's us or any other competing layer one blockchain or foundation that supports it, we're in a new era. There's more guidelines, and I think it should be revisited.
Yeah, that's a good point. It came about for a reason.
Is that of
If you had to
necessity?
do it again, maybe you wouldn't do it again that way, but it's It's interesting. And while reconsidering things too, the other thing, Beef, having covered this sector for a really long time, is just too many blockchains. And I know why there's so many blockchains is because you could get really rich for a while, but that era also seems to be over because you can't just start a chain and dump your tokens on retail and that. But now that we have just too many out there, and I've said this before, but when I covered startups in the Valley, what I liked is if they failed, they went away. You know what I mean? And that's, thanks for playing, go away. But now these chains just sit on and on. Do you think there'll ever be the kind of winnowing, or these kind of zombie chains going to persist?
I hope so. Yeah. I really do. Because the problem is you have all these zombie chains that still have foundation treasuries or large treasuries from when they raised money in 2014, 16, 20. And it can consistently, show up at conferences and throw parties and be present on X and be thought leaders in some capacity or not, but never really deliver a product, a use case, or anything of meaningful value. So yes, I believe there should be a winnowing. I believe there should be a consolidation. We see M&A happening in the private markets. I don't know why there shouldn't be M&A within ecosystems and networks that are coming together. I like to say that the problem with the industry is that there's too many blockchains, that there's too much block space. But that's because they're all general purpose, right? I mentioned this to you in a previous conversation. The industry in the first generation was building general purpose blockchains that were searching for use cases. They were searching for users. So this reminds me of the early days of the internet with AOL. You'd log into a screen and everything would be on one single screen. And then WordPress came along. So paradoxically, my solution to that is actually more blockchains and more block space, but custom built, purpose built, application specific, jurisdiction specific, business use case specific, kind of like WordPress did, right? Like we take for granted 30 years ago that a small business or a person could monetize their persona or launch a global company or brand by launching a website. Well, a financial institution or an enterprise or a startup can be digitally native, blockchain native on day one with a blockchain underpinning all of their operations on the background. So I think we need to move towards that. So yes, all the general purpose chains, we don't need 67 different Ethereum virtual machine chains that are a little bit cheaper, a little bit faster, a little bit insert gimmick of the month, right?
Yeah. And in this new world, I think you're right. There will be, kind of bespoke chains. You adapt a main one for your purposes. But what of decentralization in this world, which has always been the North Star of crypto, believers in the movement? Does it still matter, or look at JPM and Canton? Like, what is that? That's basically corporate database software. Is it crypto? Or does this conversation even matter at this point?
I mean, they're not crypto and they're not blockchain. Yeah. Let's just be very clear about that. Decentralization is one of those things that doesn't matter until it's too late and you realize that it matters. But having said that, this industry, I think, has been somewhat elitist, both with jargon and with letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. So I do think, like with Avalanche, you can have a permissioned private chain, a permissioned public chain, or a public permissionless chain. And for some enterprises, institutions, and everyone, that's a journey. You don't start decentralized, distributed, permissionless on day one. Maybe you're permissioned and public, like FIFA was, right? And then maybe you allow token holders or equity holders, whatever it may be, or partners, to then run validators and open up the network. So decentralization is a journey. It's a destination. I'm proud of the decentralization that our chain has. But if you're a corporation or a government entity or something, you really can't do that. But that doesn't mean we can't work with those people. We can't bring them in and have connectivity with private and permissioned and public chains working together and nudge them along the road of decentralization and show them the virtues of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the temperature's lower now. This will always just be cause for civil war, even a conversation like this. And I think we're past that era, which is less colorful, but probably a good thing. And just to give you the last word, there's some changes at Avalanche this morning. You got a new CEO.
Yeah, a new president. Yeah, so John, first and foremost, I want to thank John Wu, who's been our president for 7 years. Took the company from 10 people to what it is today. So John is stepping aside as being the president for 7 years. He's going to be a senior advisor to the firm. He'll still be helping drive strategy and growth and everything else. Charlie Cooper, our current COO, is stepping into the president seat. So Charlie was previously COO at the CFTC, at R3 at Corda, was at State Street, and has been in government. So we're excited to have Charlie running the company, and we'll be great partners in building the business and the ecosystem. So it's a new chapter.
Cool. Okay, we'll check back next year and see what you built since then. So yeah, thank you very much, John. Thanks everyone.